Hi everyone, Sarah from Homfray Embroidery with another stitch for you for our stitch sampler projects. So if you're stitching along with me, we've been doing this little sampler here and adding some stitches and learning some stitches to it. Or if you're just interested in the stitches on your own, you can jump in and out of these videos wherever you like and have a go at these stitches. So I'm going to show you on this one and do it by hand, and if you prefer to work in a frame, I'm going to do it on the frame as well. So this stitch that we're going to do today needs to be worked differently if you're left-handed, so I'm going to do a right-handed and a left-handed version depending on which is which, because it does make a difference with this stitch. And we're going to look at herringbone stitch. So this is what it looks like here. This is on a little sampler that we're doing in my forest embroidery class, and you can see the stitch here. So it's like a big sort of cross stitch that actually crosses over at the top and the bottom. It sort of makes a continuous row of stitching, and I put a little bit of it here and along here as well. But it's also really good to go over the edges of fabric. If you want to catch the edge of a fabric down, this is a great one to use for that. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I've got my little ring sampler set up in my frame here. I've got it held in a versatile table clamp just so I can keep it nice and steady. So I'm going to show you the frame method, and this is the basis of this stitch. You can do lots with it, and I'll show you that what else you can do with it in a second. But this is the basis. If you can get this stitch, then you can do all the other stitches as well. So I'm going to go over the edge of this fabric, so you can see it's sort of frayed a bit, which I quite like, but I appreciate not everybody does. So if you want to sort of tidy up an edge or hold an edge down, this is a really good one to do, or you can just do it straight down the middle like the one I've just shown you. So I'm going to come up on the outside here with this fabric, and we're going to go cross over it. I'm not going to worry too much about these other stitches on it. I suppose if I was to pick an angle a bit less than 45 degrees, so that would be 19 if we went corner to corner, so maybe a little bit less than that. So I've actually come back on myself there, so this thread will cross over that one to make like making a big cross stitch. But as cross stitch we would stop level with that first one. We're actually going to go a bit further, and then we're going to do the same again. So we're going to go back on ourselves, we're going to cross that, just picking a bit of a thread up from underneath. So we're going to cross that one, go down ahead of ourselves, and if you can sort of come back so that you're level with that previous one, that makes quite a nice looking cross. So I'm going to go over there, so we're covering the edge of it, stitching over the edge of that fabric. So this stitch, when I come out here, is level with that previous one there. Don't worry too much about that, but you can do this as a counted stitch. So if you want to do it on an Ada fabric or a needlepoint fabric, then that bit's a little bit more important, but I'm just going to do a fairly freestyle one. It's just good to practice the stitch. So come back up level with that, cross over that one, going straight down with my needle, back up behind, level with that one. You can see how quickly it goes in, but you can do this any size you want. You can do a nice small one if you want to. Really not a complicated stitch to do, but a really pretty edging one, and one just to cover up the edges of those bits of fabric. Just zoom in a little bit so you can see that a bit more clearly, and we're just going to stop at that seeding because that seeding's holding that in there. I'm just going to finish that cross up there, down on the outside, and then I can just weave it underneath my stitches on the back. So that's how you do it in a frame. Let's do it handheld. So I've added some little bits of fabric onto my little stitch sampler that I've done. If you want to know how to do that, if you're making a slow stitch sampler along with me and you've run out of space, you've got carried away with the stitches and you need a bit more, do check out this video up here. This one will show you different ways you can attach more fabric to your samplers, and you can make some features out of that as well. There's some nice sort of decorative ones in there. So I have added a little bit of fabric on to this, and I've just added a few extra pieces as well. So I've got something pretty to stitch on. So I'm going to work that herringbone stitch over the edge of this one here. So I'm going to take my thread between all the layers. I've got a knot in the end, and we're going to hide that knot in the end, inside, like that. So that disappears inside, and that's trapped. That's not going to come undone. So we're going to do the same as I've just done. I'm going to cross there, but you can do this in one movement now. So you can take a little running stitch. It's a sort of a backwards running stitch, and then we're going to cross over that there, go ahead and take a little back stitch, cross over, pick up a bit of that. So we don't have to go from top to bottom now, we can do this motion where we do it in one move. That crosses over, and it takes a bit to get into the rhythm, so when you stitch in a different way you'll get a sort of rhythm to it. You'll find what stitch is nice to take in your hand, and you'll see that that evenness starts to come. So you always have something to practice these on. You'll see mine are changing as well as I go through. That first one was quite long, and then you pick up this rhythm you sort of settle into. So definitely have something to practice on if you're trying a new stitch, to try it out. So just a little stitch there, and then needle's going backwards. I'm starting ahead of myself, coming out behind where it went in, and it's level with that bottom one there, so we get those nice crosses. Just zoomed in on that a little bit more so you can see the effect of that. And I'm using a variegated thread. I'm using a perlé thread for this. You can use any thread that you want to. Have a little play and see what you like. And that's as far as I'm going to go, because I want to show you how to just finish that off on the back. So we finish our cross. I'm going to go down through to the back, turn that over, and you'll see this stitch that it makes on the back. You kind of get 2 rows of running stitch on the back, so it's not a lot of thread on the back, which is nice because that means it's not all going to come undone. Then to finish it, I'm just going to slide the needle between those layers of fabric. It's got a backing fabric on there, which is really useful for finishing off your threads. I'm just going to go around that backing fabric a couple of times. That's nice and secure, and then I can just cut the thread off. Now I'm going to show you the left-handed way. Now I'm not left-handed, so I'm going to look a little bit awkward, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So we're going to do everything the opposite. We're going to mirror what I've just done. So I went from left to right so I can see which way I'm working. So I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, go from right to left. So I've started on the outside. I'm going to make my first cross, and then I go into the fabric and I pick up that little stitch. So I'm going back towards the direction that I came from. And then I come back on myself and I cross over that one, and then I pick up a little bit of fabric in here. So then that crosses over there. It's a little bit awkward, I apologise, but hopefully you get the idea. And then we're going to go into the fabric there. I'm going to pick up the fabric there. I know I'm pulling it through with my right hand, but you get the idea. And then that crosses, and you can continue on like that. So I've just flipped it over really. I'm just going the other direction with it, but otherwise it's exactly the same. And then I just want to show you quickly some other things you can do with this stitch. I'm not going to do these in this video, we might look at them later, but just to show you where you can take this stitch. So this is the single one that we have just done. This is done on an Aida fabric, on a cross stitch fabric, so I've counted it. So all the stitches are exactly the same length, which is why it looks nice and neat and tidy. And then you can double it as well. So I've put another row of it in between the spaces, and that's in the lighter green, so you can see the 2 different stitches, but it's exactly the same stitch. It's just started from the top rather than the bottom, and then it just fits in between that one, so you can make this beautiful pattern with it. You can weave through it. So this purple one was the original stitch, then I've got the light pink that I've just woven around it there. This one has been worked around some back stitch, I think that is. So you put your back stitch in first, the 2 rows of that, and then you work this herringbone stitch in and out of there, and you still get these crossing patterns all the way through it, but you're working it around some stitches instead. This one is done the same, but instead of 2 straight rows we've got 2 wavy rows, but it makes this really beautiful sort of lacy pattern, and it's really lovely. This is another double one, but done in the same colour, and you can see how beautiful that looks like. Lots of little crosses, actually cross stitches together, but it's this beautiful herringbone stitch. And then this one, it gets really complicated. This one is a sort of laced herringbone. You can weave your thread around it one way, and you go all the way around the cross, and then you can go back on the other side and do it again, and it just builds up and you can get lots of amazing patterns with this. So there's loads of places you can take this stitch, but just have a go at that first one that I've shown you and just have fun learning the stitch and see what it can do. So I hope you enjoyed that stitch. Don't forget to check out this playlist up here. This has got all the other stitches that we've looked at on the stitch sample, and we'll build on this and put more videos on this. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.